In the last class, we have started off with scripted pipeline. Okay. So today, the first thing I will do is just to understand the similarities. Initially, we'll focus on the similarities between scripted and declarative. You will notice that if you know one kind of pipeline, understanding and migrating into some other kind of pipeline will not be a big challenge. Okay, so this will serve as a quick repetition because those of you who feel that those steps generation and everything was slightly confusing, it will be a recap. But the same 5 stages of CI/CD that we have seen in the last class using scripted pipeline, let us try to perform that using declarative pipeline in today's session. Okay, so as always, because Jenkins we need to access, let us take the public IP of our Jenkins server. Give that in the browser, colon, what is the default port number of Jenkins? 8080. Now, once I log in into Jenkins, I'll give my credentials and so this was the pipeline job that we have created in the last class. On the same lines, I want to today create a declarative pipeline. So please focus on my screen. The first thing is, as always, you click on new item, give whatever name you want for the job. I will call this as declarative pipeline. Let's call it as declarative pipeline 1. Which type of jobs we are working on? Pipeline jobs. So you need to select pipeline and then we have to click on OK. Now, if you remember in the last class, I gave you the basic skeleton structure of how a scripted pipeline looks like and how declarative pipeline looks like, right? So let us depend on that. It starts with a keyword called as pipeline. Is the font visible to everyone? And then within pipeline, you have something called as agent. And I'll give agent equals to any. In fact, you can actually make this work on a particular slave, or some steps should work on a particular slave, some other steps should work on some other slave. All those things can be done. I'll explain it. You see, Vaida? Then what is the next one you have? Stages. Within stages, you have stage. You give the stage name. Shall we call this as a continuous download, which is our first stage? Within stage, you have steps. And within steps, this is where you are supposed to create the actual Groovy code, which is capable of downloading from the remote Git repository. Now, since we are depending on the tool for generating this entire code, all I need to do is click on this option called as pipeline syntax. And when I click on pipeline syntax, it will show you different steps, out of which we are selecting an option called as Git. When you select Git, that fellow is asking you to specify the URL where the code is actually uploaded by the developers. Now, in our case, we are taking this code from a repository called as Maven, right? This is where the development code is there. So I click on that. I take whatever link is coming up. Let's take that link. And because that has to be converted into Groovy code, I am pasting that URL and then you click on generate pipeline script. You notice the Groovy code comes up. I am taking that Groovy code and pasting that Groovy code over here. Continuous download. So do you notice the internal Groovy code remains the same? Whether we are working on scripted pipeline or declarative pipeline, generating that Groovy code is just the same. There is no difference. Now, once the first stage is over, let me create the second stage on the same lines. I will call the second stage not as continuous download, but we will call it as continuous build. And here, with the help of Maven, we are supposed to create a artifact, right? Now, in order to create this artifact, what I'll do is, again, I'll go to the same pipeline syntax generator. And in this pipeline syntax generator, you search for an option called as, Maven we did not find. Remember, last session, I did not find Maven. So which option we selected? Shell script. And what is the command we are giving? MVN. This is the command of Maven through which the code will be converted into an artifact. So once I take that, I'll click on generate pipeline script. The Groovy code comes up. Please take that Groovy code paste it within the second block. Let me run the program till here. If it's working, I'll create the third, fourth, and the fifth stages. Okay, your job is saved. Now let's build the job. 2 stages it should execute. Let's see what happens. So you see continuous download is in progress. I think the colors are now better, right? But the green is still not coming up. It's okay. Okay, continuous build is also successful. You can see that it is showing success for both the stages. Now, since we are done with the first 2 stages, on the same lines of what we have seen in the last class, I would like to perform the third stage, which is continuous deployment. So have a look at my screen. All I need to do is copy this entire stage code. And shall we call this as continuous deployment? And in continuous deployment, I will write down the code for deploying into the QA server. Again, because we generate the code based on our tool's help, you come to this pipeline syntax generator page, search for deploy var ER to container. When you search for that, that fellow is asking you which type of files do you want to deploy. If deploy to container plugin is already installed, there's nothing to do. You can just use it directly.
It's not coming, sir. I tried.
It's not coming up.
Yeah, the drop down, it's only that option.
Did you check it in the installed section also?
Yeah, it's enabled and it's checked.
Then it's not working.
No, it's not coming up itself, that option.
Oh, is it? I mean, after installing, maybe just check if you have to shut down that server and start it again.
Okay.
Yeah, restarting the Jenkins.
Okay, let me try.
Okay. See, one simple way of restarting the Jenkins is, how do you go to the Jenkins dashboard? IP address :8080/restart.
Right. Okay.
If you give /restart, the Jenkins server will restart.
Okay.
That you can do.
Okay.
Context path. Shall we call it as test1 for now? I can give whatever name I want, right? Add container. Which container are we using, friends? Tomcat 9. And in this Tomcat 9, we are supposed to give the credentials. And here I am supposed to give the IP address of my QA server. So let's go to the AWS dashboard and identify your QA server. Whatever is the private IP, you please take that. You see, this is the private IP. I'll just pick it up and I'll say, and : what is the port number of Tomcat? 8080. Now, having given all that, all I need to do is click on generate pipeline script. You notice that the Groovy code is automatically coming up. Let us take that Groovy code and just paste it within your third block. The third block name that I have given is continuous deployment. Since we are done with continuous deployment, I want to create the code for the fourth stage, which is continuous testing. So please watch continuous testing. And here there are 2 things that we are supposed to do. One is we are supposed to download the Selenium programs and also execute the Selenium programs. So the Selenium programs are uploaded by the testing team, in our case, in a repository called as functional testing. So you just need to pick up the URL. See, this is the URL. I'll pick up that URL, go back to my Jenkins pipeline generator page. And here you search for an option called Git. Specify the URL where testers are uploading the code. And after that, all I need to do is click on generate the pipeline script. So you see the Groovy code comes up. All I can do is copy that Groovy code, paste it in this block. Now I'll run the job till here because only when I run the job, I will get the workspace. Workspace is the location where you can expect that this testing.jar file will be downloaded. Okay. Or else you can see the logs, the previous logs you can see and pick it up. Anyhow, let's run till here. I'll click on build now. See what is happening. So it looks as if it's done, but if I actually go to the console output, you people will notice what it is doing. See, it says that it is fetching the changes from the remote Git repository, and it's also claiming that it's downloading in which folder, var lib Jenkins workspace, in a folder called as declarative pipeline. Is it really true? Let's go and check. I'll connect to that server just to show you whether the Selenium programs are really downloaded or not. So as usual, I am connecting to that particular AWS instance. Okay. Once we connect to this instance, I just need to copy that path and paste the, okay, CD, right? Change directory, CD, and you paste the path here. Once I do that, ls if you do you notice the file that we are mainly searching for is testing.jar. What is the location where the testing.jar file is downloaded? You copy that complete path, and what is the command you give? Java-jar, the path testing.jar, right? Now this Java-jar command is nothing but a shell command. So all I need to do is go to the pipeline syntax generator, search for an option called as shell script, and the command that we want to fire is Java-jar, the location and the name of the file. What is the name of the file? Testing.jar. Now we are supposed to convert that into Groovy code. So I click on generate pipeline script. You notice some Groovy code coming on my screen. Take that Groovy code, and so please, this is the declarative pipeline job we are working on. Go to the configuration page, go to the pipeline section, and we are currently working on the 4th stage, right? So continuous testing. After downloading the code, run the Selenium programs. Now, after that, you are supposed to create the last stage code. So I'll call this stage as continuous delivery, and within stage you have steps, and within steps you are supposed to write the code through which you can deploy into the prod servers. How did we do that? Again, go back to the pipeline syntax generator, and here you search for an option called as deploy var EAR to container. Which type of files are you deploying? */*star.var. Context path, shall we call it as? This is the name with which your client will access it from a browser, and your Tomcat credentials. And finally, here I am supposed to give the IP address of my prod server, private IP. So let's go to the prod server AWS instance. This is the prod server. And in the case of the prod server, you see some public IP. Let's take that public IP. And did I take private IP? Yeah, private only I want. I mean, public also will work, but when you shut down and start it again, public will change, private will remain like that. It's better. Take private IP. I'm sorry if I was saying public. So please see this. This is the private IP, and finally you click on copy the code and paste that code in the last block. Okay, so we are done. Now I'll save the job. Let's build the job. See what is happening. I'm expecting all the stages to trigger. I think okay, we are done. The last stage is currently happening, and you notice that the last stage is also success. Similar to what we have done, if you want, you can put an interactive input over there so that Srinivas can log in and give his approval. Otherwise, it will just stop. So the main thing that I wanted to you people to understand is only the skeleton structure was changing in this scenario. Scripted pipeline structure was different, the declarative pipeline was different, but the internal code was remaining the same. Whatever options are there, same thing is there. Now, in a lot of organizations, what they do is this so-called Jenkins file that we have seen just now, is not available on the Jenkins dashboard. It is uploaded by the developers into the Git repository where that fellow is putting the code. Developer is creating some development Java-based code in our case, right? That Java-based code he is putting into the Git repository. Along with that, he will also upload this Jenkins file. This Jenkins file sitting in the remote Git repository, from there it will trigger all the stages of CI/CD. So what I'm trying to tell is, if you open the Jenkins dashboard, you won't find any pipeline program. Job will be there, but that code, that 5 stages code that we have created, you are able to see that code, right? Whenever you want to see the code, you are simply going into the configuration page, going into the pipeline section, and we see the complete code. What I'm trying to tell is this code will not be visible on your Jenkins. Instead, this code will be uploaded into the GitHub repository. Sitting in the GitHub repository, from there, it will control all the stages of CI/CD. This is the common practice that majority of the people follow. Now, what I want you to do is, if you want to practice this scenario, what you do is, please see, our Java-based project, which I was using all these days, is Maven, right? This is a public repository, so you people were able to happily download it and use it. But now I am saying that the developer, when he is uploading this project, he is also uploading a file called as Jenkins file, which contains all this code. You can't upload into this repository because until you know my username and password, you can't. Public repository ante adi mimmalni download cheskoni istadi. Your Jenkins can download that without any issue. But now I'm talking about doing the upload operations. For doing upload operations, it won't permit. Public aina, private aina upload cheyalante mee credentials kavali. Okay, you're understanding. So what I suggest is you download this into your machine. How will you download it? Git clone. If you say git clone, this entire repository comes into your machine. Once that git clone is done and the entire repository is downloaded, you will find there is a folder called .git. Git init gurtunda. When we give git init, it creates a folder called as .git. You delete that .git folder. When you delete that .git folder, you know what happens? The connection that this repository has with my GitHub account, that will be lost. Now you say git init, what will happen? A new repository is getting created. Git add dot, git commit, git push. Now you upload into your GitHub repository. Because you people have credentials of your GitHub account, you can upload it. You're understanding? ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్తున్న సినారియో ఏదైతే ఉందో ఈ సినారియోకి డౌన్లోడ్ ఆపరేషన్ మాత్రమే సరిపోదు, అప్లోడ్ ఆపరేషన్ కావాలి. అప్లోడ్ ఆపరేషన్ చేయలేము ఎందుకంటే ఇది పబ్లిక్ రెపాజిటరీ, ఫ్రీగా డౌన్లోడ్ చేయనిస్తుంది, కానీ అప్లోడ్ చేయాలంటే నా క్రెడెన్షియల్స్ తెలియాలి. నా క్రెడెన్షియల్స్ నేను మీకెందుకు ఇస్తాను? ఇవ్వను. కాబట్టి నేను చెప్తుంది ఏంటంటే మీరు గిట్ క్లోన్ చేయండి. గిట్ క్లోన్ చేసినప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది? ఈ కంప్లీట్ రెపాజిటరీ మీ మెషిన్ లో డౌన్లోడ్ అవుతుంది. ఆ రెపాజిటరీ లోపలికి వెళ్ళండి, సిడి అని చెప్పి ఆ ఫోల్డర్ లోకి వెళ్ళండి. యూ విల్ ఫైండ్ దెర్ ఇస్ అ ఫోల్డర్ కాల్డ్ .git. ఈ .git ని డిలీట్ చేసేయండి. ఆ .git కి ఉంటాయన్నమాట కనెక్షన్స్ నా GitHub అకౌంట్ తో. ఎప్పుడైతే మీరు .git ఫోల్డర్ ని డిలీట్ చేస్తారో నా GitHub అకౌంట్ తో ఉన్న కనెక్షన్స్ పోతాయి. ఇప్పుడు మీరు గిట్ ఇనిట్ అన్నారు అనుకోండి, కొత్త రెపాజిటరీ క్రియేట్ అయింది. గిట్ యాడ్ డాట్ అంటే అవన్నీ కూడా స్టేజింగ్ ఏరియాలోకి వెళ్తాయి. గిట్ కమిట్ అంటే అవన్నీ లోకల్ రెపాజిటరీలోకి వెళ్తాయి. గిట్ పుష్ అంటే మీ GitHub అకౌంట్ లోకి వెళ్తుంది. అది మీ GitHub అకౌంట్ కాబట్టి మీరు ఎప్పుడైనా అప్లోడ్ అండ్ డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోగలరు. అర్థమవుతుంది కదా? అది. సో ప్లీజ్ ఐ షో యూ ఆల్ దోస్ స్టెప్స్. ప్లీజ్ లుక్ అట్ దిస్.
Copy those files to another folder where it is already initialized.
Yeah, time taking process kada idi fast. So see, this is the repository. What I am trying to tell is, please look at my screen. You go into, just open git as always, and here you fire a command git clone, and whatever is my repository, you paste that URL. You know that git clone command blindly downloads whatever is present in the remote repository. Now go into that so-called Maven repository, and you people will notice that there is a folder called as this .git is a folder where the connections with my GitHub repository are specified. Just blindly delete it. RM command of Linux, you people know, will delete it, right? The moment it is deleted, do you notice the master keyword has gone away, which means it's an ordinary folder now. Now you initialize this as a Git repository. How do you initialize? Git init. Now a new repository is getting created, and now you can say git add dot, git commit, all that. Now what I am trying to tell is developers will create a file called as Jenkins file. Okay, and in this Jenkins file, they'll put all the code that you people have created. See, this is the code. I'm just copying that entire code and pasting that entire code into this so-called Jenkins file. Whatever code I have created on my Jenkins dashboard, I'm just copying it here. Now, once that is done, please watch. Git status shows that so many files are there. What are you supposed to do? Send those files into the staging area, and then you perform a commit operation. Shall we call this commit as A? After performing the commit operation, you upload this code into your GitHub account. You people have your own GitHub accounts, right? Go there and upload into your GitHub account. So see, I'll change the GitHub repository now, just for you people to understand. Imagine this is your GitHub account. How do you create a repository? Remember, you click on that plus, then you click on new repository. I'll call this as Maven. I think already that Maven repository is there. Wow. I'm calling that repository name as Maven 16. Any name I can give. And then you click on create repository. Once I do that, you people know this process, right? We want to push an existing repository from the command line. So all I need to do is copy that very first command. This is the one which is establishing a link between your local repository and the remote repository. Now I want to push the master branch. So I'll take that command. The branch name is, the code is getting uploaded into whatever is your GitHub account. Please see. Do you notice? Maven 16, all the code got uploaded. We are done. Okay. Now wait. If you actually look at the Jenkins file, you will notice that. Just open the Jenkins file. Do you notice the Jenkins file is still taking code from my GitHub repository, but currently your code has been uploaded into your own GitHub account, and this is the URL. So take whatever is that URL, make the corresponding changes in your Jenkins file also. See, only thing I have to change is I am removing that older repository information. Currently, the code has been uploaded into your GitHub account, right? So you upload that. That's it. Everything else is done. Now, because we made changes to the Jenkins file, not restart. You have to upload this into the GitHub. Whenever file is modified, that has to be uploaded into the GitHub, right? So again, I will say git add dot git commit -m. Let's call this commit as B. And finally, I will say git push. Done. The modified Jenkins file should be uploaded into the GitHub. Let's check it. If you refresh this page, you will clearly notice that all other files were updated 2 minutes ago, but this Jenkins file, it is showing as now. Okay. And do you notice all other files, the commit ID is A, but for the Jenkins file, the commit ID is B. And if you open the Jenkins file, it should have the updated information. Is it containing the updated information? Right? Done. So the Jenkins file that we have created on our Jenkins dashboard, we are passing it to the developers, and developers are uploading that into their GitHub repository. Now, as a Jenkins admin, what we are supposed to do is you create a pipeline job, the same explanation. But when you go to the pipeline section, what we did was we selected an option called as, that was the one which was by default selected. I did not touch that. But now you see there is an option called as pipeline script from SCM. SCM means source code management. Now it is going to look for pipeline script in your source code management, which is version controlling server. Then they are asking you, which SCM are you using? Which SCM we are using? Git, specify that. And then they are asking, okay, if that is the case, please tell me what is the repository URL. We have a repository, right, in the GitHub. Yeah, that repository URL, you take it. This is the one. Copy that URL and you give that Give that over there. Okay. And then in that repository URL, what is the name of the file that we are supposed to look for? Jenkins file. If you are giving some other name for that file, give that file name correctly. Okay, done. Click on apply and save. You know what happened now? The Jenkins is not, if someone opens the Jenkins dashboard, they don't see any code. The code had been uploaded into the remote Git repository, but the process of execution remains the same. See, when I click on build now, the job is running. But do you see the first stage it shows as declarative checkout SCM? It's taking from the SCM and then it is starting off with continuous download, build, and all those things. This is a more widely used practice. Rather than having the Jenkins code on your Jenkins dashboard, they put this code onto the remote Git repository. You know what is the advantage? The advantage of this process is tomorrow, let us say your Jenkins server crashed. I'll create another Jenkins server, take the code from the Git repository. Ade code anta Jenkins server lo undanukondi, Jenkins server crash ayinappudu aa code kuda potundi meeku. Malla code modati nunchi create cheyali. You're understanding all the stages of the CI/CD because they are now uploaded into the remote Git repository. Even if my Jenkins server crashes, all I need to do is set up a new Jenkins server. Into that new Jenkins server, all these Jenkins files you can again take and your CI/CD flow goes just the same. This is the main advantage of uploading this entire code into the Git repository. Now, having said that, 70 to 80% of the organizations where Jenkins is being used, you people will notice that it is developers who are creating these Jenkins files.
That was my question.
Okay. But when you go for interviews and if you tell that a developer is creating the Jenkins file, they'll ask you, then what did you do? Ante kada? If Jenkins file itself is created by developer, what did you do? Are you creating the job and linking it with that? Nonsense. So we will create our own story. What we will tell is, we are creating Jenkins files in our organization and we are giving it to the developers. Developers are uploading along with their code into the GitHub. Last story job lo But the fact is, a lot of companies are doing this where developers are creating the code. That is why you will notice that in interviews, when they ask you to write the Jenkins file, currently the Jenkins file that we have seen is the basic Jenkins file. But this much if you write, then also they're happy with that. They'll say, fine, you're selected. This is nonsense. There are so many other advanced components of Jenkins files, which we will see. But even to this extent, if you are writing pipeline, agent, stages, stage, steps, code, this much if you are able to write, they feel that, wow, this fellow can create the code. That's it.
Yeah. Hi, sir. One question here, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So we don't have to remember this Groovy script and all, sir. Only we have to remember the syntax, right, sir?
No. We can remember the syntax. I'll tell you a simple way to do that. As of now, the internal syntax was generated by the tool. We just copied and pasted it. But probably in the next program, I'll show you a very simple way through which you can remember that syntax and you can write it on your own. No need to depend on that tool generator also.
Okay, sir. Just wanted to ask the question related to that only, because if we tell that, we are using that pipeline generator script and we cannot inform to the interviewer that part, no, sir. That is what I asked this question, whether we have to
see. Sorry, your voice is not clear, so I could not get the question properly. But there is no rule that you should not use pipeline syntax generator.
Okay, sir.
Organizations will not say that you should not use pipeline syntax generator. Cheste vaadiki enti noppi. Are we able to do CI/CD or not? That is the question. How does it matter whether you are taking the help of pipeline syntax generator or you are taking the help of Google? That is irrelevant. But what happens is in interview, you don't get a chance. They'll simply ask you to share Notepad and type the program. So we should be in a situation to write the code. Once you get into the organization, all this will be available on Google. Do you think we will sit and type all this code? Nothing like that. Everything is available on Google. You just need to take it, edit it according to your requirement. Okay, so real-time work is always easy compared to the work that you people are doing in Amirpet. Trust me. There things are easier.
And sir,
Is this how usually organizations work, or do we also have to give like iterative statements or
We have to,
conditional statements?
we have to.
Even in the execution process and the testing process, right?
Yes, we have to. We did not go to that extent, but we have to put some kind of conditional statements, because when you are talking about CI/CD, how you are telling that it is successful, it can also fail.
Yeah, that's
So,
actually.
yeah, that we need to handle.
So what you're using right now, CM stage, dot get, that get, colon get on the other. That get B,
ఎక్కడండి అది మన కోడ్ లో అంటున్నారా? పైప్లైన్ ప్రోగ్రామ్ లోనా?
లింక్ చేశారు. పుల్ చేయడానికి గిట్‌హబ్ లో పుల్ చేయడానికి లింక్ చేశారు.
ఇక్కడ ఈ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ పేజ్ లో అంటున్నారా? యా.
Get colon git ఉంది కదా. Generally already git is installed on master Jenkins server కాబట్టి git చూపిస్తుందా or else
ఇక్కడ గిట్ చూపించడానికి గిట్ ఇన్స్టాల్ అయి ఉండడం కాదు, గిట్ ప్లగిన్ ఉండడం వల్ల అవుతుంది. గిట్ ఇన్స్టాల్ అయి ఉన్నా లేకపోయినా గిట్ ప్లగిన్ ఉంటే మీకు ఇది కనబడుద్ది, కానీ గిట్ వర్క్ అవుతుంది అర్థం కాదు. బ్రాడర్ గిట్, జెనరిక్ గిట్.
బట్ ఇక్కడ మరి ఇక్కడ github.com అని చెప్పి .git ఇస్తున్నారు కదా.
అవును, ఏదైనా
bitbucket.git
ఎనీ గిట్ రెపాజిటరీ ఇట్ విల్ టేక్. దట్ ఇస్ ద అడ్వాంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ సేయింగ్ గిట్. Because you are selecting Git, any Git repository will work. GitLab, Bitbucket, anything you can give. I do have Git. Git should be there. Git is a generic software which is helping you to upload either into GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. So having the Git software is mandatory. If you are asking me why this option called Git is coming, that option is coming because at the time of installing Jenkins, there was a plugin called Git plugin.
But we use Git on the master Jenkins server. Only you using this Git plugin ఒకటే యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం కదా.
ప్లగిన్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాము, గిట్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నామండి. Plugin is used by Jenkins for talking with the Git software. Finally, it is the Git which is executing the commands. ఈ plugin ఎందుకంటే Jenkins ఆ Git తో కమ్యూనికేట్ చేయడానికి మాత్రమే. సో రెండు ఉండాలి.
యూజింగ్ కమ్యూనిటీ ఎడిషన్ కదా, ఇప్పుడు కంపెనీస్ లో GitHub లేదా Bitbucket యూజ్ చేసేటప్పుడు you just have an account for your own organization.
You will have, yes, true.
And under that,
you will have the credentials and everything. True.
So you are ఇక్కడ కృష్ణ అని చెప్పి ఈ అకౌంట్ నుండి ట్రిగరింగ్ ద ప్రాసెస్.
True.
బట్ అక్కడ రియల్ టైమ్ లో హౌ ఇస్ ఇట్ ద కంపెనీ నేమ్ అట్లా ఉంటది.
The company name and the repository name, and along with that, even for downloading also, it will expect you to give the credentials.
You're uploading it to another account and then you have this personal access token and then you
నేను అది ఎందుకు చెప్పాను అంటే నా గిట్హబ్ అకౌంట్ లో ఉన్నది మీ అకౌంట్స్ లోకి ఎలా వేసుకోవాలని చెప్పడం కోసం నాకు చెప్పాను, అంతేగాని లేకపోతే దాని పర్పస్ ఏం లేదు. 100%. All these days, because you people were only doing download operations of my Java based project, you never had the requirement of uploading. I said you download and remove .git. It's not that you will do it in your real time. It's not necessary. From the developer side, most of the times it's a developer who is creating and uploading into the repository where the code is there.
Sir, does this Jenkins support only Groovy script, or we have any other tool which can be used?
Oka second. Your question, please.
Yeah, sir, does this Jenkins support only Groovy script, or we have any other tools which can be
No,
used?
Groovy script. I mean, Python programs, Ansible playbooks, those things also we will integrate with Jenkins and we'll run it. But internally, you will see that it is Groovy which is triggering all those things.
Oh, okay.
Add another container. Only deploy. So you add another step. Configure.
No, I did not see that. I mean, multiple instances related IP addresses you can give. You are saying that. Oh, add container and one more time we can give the containers information. Brilliant. This was not there in your freestyle projects, you know. So one more Tomcat you can give. I think there's no limit to that. That is where Ansible comes into picture. You will create an Ansible playbook which will do the deployment into n number of servers. That Ansible playbook you will run via Jenkins. Plugin in awesome SSH via SSH. Okay?
Sir.
Denikandi.
And something.
Ante. Ansible will be present on some other server. Playbooks will be present over there. That Ansible playbook you will design in such a way that it will deploy into n number of Tomcat servers. Now Jenkins via SSH will connect to that Ansible and it will execute that Ansible playbook. So where you are giving that command, deploy command, that I will replace with Ansible playbook command. Practically, I'll show you all those scenarios.
But in the pipeline, if you want to these specific stages, the job,
Yes, we can. We can.
Only from that stage.
We can. From that stage, a particular stage should run on master, another next stage should run on slave. That also control I can do.
Okay, but the pipeline on say you did not change the source code, artifact it change it. You only want to test it again from the testing stage. That also you can do.
Skip the initial steps and go with a particular stage. We can. No. Already if the artifact is created in the previous stages, now you don't want to recreate it, but you want to continue with
The build is must.
Build is must. Build is must. But in some organizations, the build is directly done by the developers and they directly upload that artifact into some repository.
The artifact is given like
That is also possible. I mean, here in our case, Jenkins is downloading the code and building also. But in a lot of places, developers create the code, they create artifact, and that artifact they'll push into the repository. So your Jenkins will start with downloading that artifact and continuing from there. So that is also possible.
You don't saying people
Talk to developers.
the case arises when developers say, but they'll talk to us in case there's something wrong with the deployment definition pipeline.
Yes.
Then they talk
If they are designing this entire code. Okay, wait. It's not over. There is something more interesting. I mean, if you remember when I was showing you freestyle jobs, we talked about how to schedule these jobs at a particular date and time. Remember, the job was automatically getting. We did not see that. Oh wow! I mean, this works. I mean, this concept that I'm going to show you will work both for freestyle projects and also for pipeline jobs. Let's say I'm creating a sample job now. A very simple job I'll create. It's a freestyle project. And this freestyle project simply wants to download this Java-based code. So see what I'm doing. Once the freestyle project is created, you know these steps. You go into source code management, click on Git, you specify that URL. So imagine this is my job. Now, how do you run the job? Generally, whenever you people want to run the job, you go to the dashboard, you identify that job and you click on the build icon. And you notice that the job gets executed. Do you notice the sample job has executed one time? But I want this job to be, let's say in your organization, whatever Jenkins jobs you are creating, they are saying that every Friday evening, 6 o'clock, you have to run them. That is the policy you follow. Every Friday evening, 6 o'clock, you need to run the jobs. So what does that mean? Do you think that at 6 o'clock, a DevOps engineer will sit on Jenkins and run the job? No. You will simply schedule your Jenkins to automatically run that job at that particular date and time. How do you do it? Go to your job configuration page. On the left-hand side, do you see there is an option called as build triggers? Go to build triggers and you have an option called as build periodically. And here you have to specify the date and time. Please look at my screen. If you don't know how to give the date and time, you can actually click on this question mark. And these people will help you. It seems first you are supposed to give the minutes, hours, day of the month, and finally day of the week. Minutes. It is coming in 0 to 59 format. Hours, day of the month. Now look at the minutes on my screen. Currently, what is the time? 10:21. Can you see that? It's not visible, but it's okay. I think the clock should be visible in some other place, maybe. This is Windows 11. I don't know how the clock comes up. Earlier, we used to have the clock and all that coming directly on the screen, right? No, it's not coming. It's okay. Mainly. Don't have a password.
I think it is to trigger a focus mode, I guess. not exactly a clock. It's like a focus session.
Show time. No, this is actually for focus session.
Yeah.
This is not the time. I mean, the time actually comes in the form of a clock. That was what I was actually looking for. ఇది అతి కష్టం మీద మేము ప్రొజెక్టర్ కి పనికి వచ్చేటట్టుగా ఆ సెట్టింగ్స్ పెట్టాము కదా డిస్టర్బ్ చేస్తే మళ్ళీ మొదటికి వెళ్ళిపోతాం.
You can just open a new tab in Google itself and access a clock. Maybe that's easier.
Fine. No, what are you saying? It's which settings you're talking about?
No, you can just open a new tab in
Google time
itself
చూద్దామంటున్నారా?
and- Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to look at my system time, but it's okay. It says it's as if it's 10:23, right? So I'll take those parameters and we'll try to work on it. So imagine that I want my job to run, it's already 23. Let's give it as 25 or 26. I want to run it as 25. After minutes, what is the next one they are expecting? Hours. So I'll give the hours. And after that, they are asking for the day of the month. In our case, the day of the month is 6 and the month we are in is 1. And the last one is day of the week. You notice that in day of the week, 0 is Sunday anta. So currently, because we are on Friday, if 0 is Sunday, 0 is Sunday, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be 5. So let's give it as 5 over there and click on apply and save. ఇవ్వలేదా ఈ లోపల టైం కూడా అయిపోతుంది అక్కడ. So the sample job build triggers. Oh, I did not save it. Super. 26. After 26, the next one was 10, and after that the next one was 6. They were asking for yeah, but see, it says that then the month is 1 and the last one is 5. Let's click on it.
No, here
No, it's working. It's working. If they are showing it like that, it's working. Save. So Google search time enti. Anenti 23 lone agipoyadu. Okay. మనం 26 పెట్టాం కదా. That is the problem. No, that's not in Hyderabad. Say just one more minute to go. In one more minute, what I'm expecting is this so-called sample job, which already executed for one time, should automatically run for the second time. So let's see whether it works or not. అదే ప్రాబ్లం అవుతుంది ఇప్పుడు మనకి.
సార్ బిల్డ్ ఇనిషియేట్ అయిన తర్వాత మనం రిఫ్రెష్ కూడా చేయాలి కదా పేజ్.
మనం చేయక అంటే మనం చూసుకోవడానికి రిఫ్రెష్ చేస్తాం. ఈవెన్ వెదర్ యూ రిఫ్రెష్ ఆర్ యూ డోంట్, ఇట్ విల్ వర్క్.
Sir, do we have our Jenkins server in Mumbai itself? Like, will that affect how it runs?
That will affect. It is going to affect. Now we will see that.
Okay.
See, finally the time is what we are expecting, 10:26. But if I go to my Jenkins dashboard and any number of times I refresh, I don't see anything happening. The job is not running, nothing is happening. As you people were guessing that the answer is correct. Because the servers that I am creating have been created in which region? Ohio. And here we are in Hyderabad. So that's why it's not working. You have to take the date and time of Ohio. So this is my AWS instance where we have connected earlier, the Jenkins server. Yeah. I'll go to, you can go to Google and check for the Ohio time or directly give the date command. Do you see? In Ohio also, it is January 6th, but it is early morning, 4:56, 44 seconds. So we will give it as 58 or something like that. Minutes will just change. So go to your pipeline sample job configuration page And in the build trigger section, all I have to change is we will give it as 58. Time enta 4. మిగిలినవన్నీ సేమే కదా 6th అక్కడ కూడా January ఉంటారు కదా January and 5 which is Friday. So let's click on apply and save. Now it will work. See, the sample job I am expecting should run for the second time in just a matter of a few seconds or minutes. Let's execute the date command one more time. You notice it's already, we gave the time as 58 kada?
Yeah.
So it's almost done.
Please stage he checks. Stage of
Initially when they are creating it, they have to check. Once it is done, they don't. Yes. So it's almost done, friends. You see 58 has already started, which means if I refresh the page, I should see the count as shown as 2. So this is how you schedule the job for a particular date and time. Now, what we are, I mean, this concept works not only for freestyle project, it also works for pipeline jobs. Let's take the declarative pipeline job that I created. I go to the configuration page, and if you just navigate a little down on this page, do you notice here also we have the same build triggers. So here also I can do the same drama. Click on build periodically, specify the date and time, and it'll work. But the question is, either we are running the Jenkins jobs manually by clicking on the build icon, or the Jenkins job is scheduled for a particular date and time. What I am interested is, whenever developer is making any changes to the code and uploading into the Git repository, that's when I want this entire flow to be triggered. Because if you remember the first session of Jenkins, when I gave you the introduction of Jenkins, I said that developers is checking in the code into the Git repository and Jenkins is triggering one after other all the stages. That is what I want to happen. I don't want to manually execute it. I don't want to schedule it for a particular date and time. Let the developer decide. Whenever developer is making any modifications to the code and uploading into the Git repository, then automatically all these stages of CI/CD has to be triggered. How will that happen? You understood, right? So when the modifications to the code are happening, then I want Jenkins to trigger these stages of CI/CD. Until and unless, it should not do anything. Okay, that can be actually done in 2 different ways. Okay, we'll see that in the next class. One is called as Pole SCM, and the second one is called as webhooks. These are the 2 ways in which you can tell Jenkins to execute the job whenever developer is making modifications and uploading into the Git repository. Now listen, what is the difference? I'll quickly explain, but we'll see this practically in the next class. In the case of Pole SCM, your Jenkins will be checking the remote Git repository at a particular time frame. You will tell Jenkins, check Git every 1 hour or check Git every 15 minutes. It will check every 15 minutes. If it sees that something new is committed, it will trigger the CI/CD flow. In the case of webhooks, Jenkins will not check the Git repository. Whenever something is modified, it is the Git repository which will send a notification to Jenkins, and Jenkins will start the CI/CD process. You're understanding? 2 ways of automating this: Pole SCM and webhooks. In Pole SCM, you will give a time frame every minute or every 10 minutes or every 1 hour. Jenkins will check the remote Git repository. If it sees that something new is committed, immediately it will execute the entire Jenkins file. In the case of webhooks, Jenkins will not check anything. Jenkins will happily sit like that. Whenever something is modified, it is the Git repository which will send a notification to Jenkins. And when Jenkins receives that notification, it will trigger the stages of the CI/CD. This is another flow. Okay, both the ways we will try to see. We'll see that.
So can we do it like for multiple types? We've done it for 2 minutes, right? So with that, can we also initiate that for another 15 minutes after 15 minutes? In the same.
Give it for a year.
See, if you actually click on the schedule section, they'll show you how you can do all those things. So, I mean, that I am giving it one thing. Okay, that's for everyone. But the same parameters you can actually copy and paste it beneath that.
So, sir, this and pole SEM are the same, right? Similar.
No, they are not same. In the case of build periodically, I am telling when the job has to execute. In pole SEM, it's not executing. It is checking for new commit operation. Because commit operation check cheyadu. You are giving a time frame and it's running the job. But there in pole SEM, it is checking whatever time you give. If it sees that a new commit is uploaded, then only it is triggering the job.
Change in commit ID is.
It's checking for the commit ID.
So, but let's say when the normal companies are okay, but people are interacting with websites, Twitter, like whatever. So they'll have multiple releases in a day or 2 days. So that maybe front end like software either. So then they'll manually.
You mean uploading into?
No, build manual build on just like they all.
ఎందుకు అంటే అలా చేయకపోతే యాక్చువల్లీ ఇంపాక్ట్ అవుతుంది అని మీరు అంటున్నారు.
ఓజీ నామినేషన్ చేసినప్పుడు వై ఈ టైం అంతా చేయడం ఇదే ఇంకా టీడీఎస్ ప్రాసెస్ కదా లేదా బిల్డ్ డౌన్ కొట్టి ఆటోమేటిక్ బిల్డ్ అవుతుంది.
That is possible, but we can't really say that. Most of the times it's integrated with the developer's code. They wait for the developer to commit something. When it is committed, all this flow is triggered. But again, into the production environment, it doesn't happen. It only goes up to the level of the pre-prod environment. Pre-prod environment lo UAT anta okay ana tarvata production environment lo meer annattu manual ga chestaru.
So this fellow releases patch every now and then. So what first patch release చేసినప్పుడు ఏంటంటే అప్పటి వరకు స్మూత్ గా అనే ఏపీకే ఫైల్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది మొత్తం డిస్టర్బ్ అయిపోతుంది. అంటే ఏదో ఒక ఫంక్షన్ అంటే ఎక్కడొక చోట కొట్టేస్తుంది. అయితే వాడు ఏంటి మళ్ళీ ఒక హాఫ్ అన్ అవర్ తర్వాత 45 minutes తర్వాత ఇంకొక బగ్ ఫ్రీ ప్యాచ్ రిలీజ్ చేస్తాడు. సో ఇప్పుడు రోజు చెప్పినట్టుగా మరి ఇట్లా ఇవన్నీ చేసుకుంటూ పోతే వాళ్ళకి రిలీజ్ టైం కానీ లేకపోతే ఫంక్షనాలిటీ కానీ చాలా డిలే అయిపోతుంది.
ఎందుకు అవుతుంది? ముందు స్టేజింగ్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లో ఒకసారి యూఐటీ టెస్టింగ్ చేస్తున్న బగ్ ఫిక్సింగ్ ఇష్యూ ఏదైతే ఉందో యూఐటీ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లో టెస్ట్ చేసేస్తారు. సక్సెస్ఫుల్ అయిందన్న ప్రొడక్షన్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ లో వేస్తారు. అలా వస్తుందంటే వాడు యూఐటీ లేకుండా డైరెక్ట్ గా కొట్టేస్తున్నాడు అని అర్థం. బ్రాడ్ ఎన్విరాన్మెంట్ 5 days back లేకపోతే కంటిన్యూస్ రిలీజెస్ అయితే అట్లీస్ట్ ఫ్యూ అవర్స్ బ్యాక్ అన్న ఒక రౌండ్ ఆఫ్ టెస్టింగ్ అయ్యిందని అర్థం UAT లో.
And same in another viewpoint, bugs అన్ని ఫ్రీ ఉన్నాయి, అంత బాగుంది. కానీ ఏంటంటే సడన్ గా సర్వర్ లోడ్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిపోయింది. 1 million యూజర్స్ దగ్గర 10 million యూజ్ చేశారు సడన్ గా ఒకటేసారి. అప్పుడు ఏంటంటే ఏపీకి అది హ్యాండిల్ చేయలేకపోయింది. సడన్ గా ఫైల్ మొత్తం అంటే క్రాష్ అయిపోవడమో లేకపోతే స్లో అయిపోవడమో అయింది. ఇప్పుడు ఏదైనా చేస్తారు
there is a mechanism called as auto scaling,
okay,
which comes at the level of Docker and Kubernetes and all those things. అక్కడ ఏం చేస్తాము అని అంటే we create an application, whatever APK file is there, that APK application we'll create in the form of a Docker container. The Docker container కి మనం ఒక లిమిట్ పెట్టేస్తాము. అంటే we say that when the CPU utilization is going beyond a particular limit or memory consumption is going beyond a particular limit అని parameters పెడతాం. When that happens, automatically the number of replicas should increase. అది ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిపోతుంది. అందుకని అప్పట్లో ఫెయిల్ అవ్వడాలు అవన్నీ ఉండేవి. ఇప్పుడు అడ్వాన్స్ అవుతూ వచ్చే కొద్దీ ఆ సొల్యూషన్స్ అన్ని తీసుకొస్తున్నాం. అంతకుముందు మాన్యువల్ గా స్కేల్ చేసేవారు. వాళ్ళకి తెలుసు ఈ టైంలో ట్రాఫిక్ పెరుగుతుంది అన్నప్పుడు నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ కంటైనర్స్ కానీ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ సర్వర్స్ పెంచేవారు. ఇప్పుడు అలా అవసరం లేదు. ఆ లోడ్ ని బేస్ చేసుకుని అది ఆటోమేటిక్ ఇంక్రీజ్ అయిపోతుంది.
స్విచింగ్ బిట్వీన్
మెషిన్స్ అండ్ మెషిన్ లోపల అప్లికేషన్స్ కూడా పెరిగిపోతాయి. ఒక అప్లికేషన్ ఇప్పుడు ఒక సర్వర్ ఉంది. ఆ సర్వర్ లో మీ అప్లికేషన్ మీ ఏపీకే అప్లికేషన్ ఒకటి ఉంది అనుకుందాం. ఆ అప్లికేషన్ 100 యూజర్ లోడ్ వరకు విత్ స్టాండ్ అవుతుంది. బట్ నౌ ఐ నో దట్ టుమారో 10,000 యూజర్స్ విల్ బి యాక్సెసింగ్ ఇట్. సో ఈ అప్లికేషన్స్ ఆటోమేటిక్ గా 10,000 యూజర్స్ కావాల్సిన రెప్లికాస్ క్రియేట్ అయిపోతాయి. కంప్యూటింగ్ పవర్ ని బేస్ చేసేది యూజర్స్ అంటే ఫైనల్ గా కంప్యూటింగ్ పవర్ నే తీసుకుంటారు ప్రతి యూజర్ కూడా.
అప్పుడే ఒక్కొక్క ఇన్స్టెన్స్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు. సో 10,000 into 100 ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్
కావచ్చు. ఒక సర్వర్ లో మీకు 10 ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ క్రియేట్ అవుతున్నాయి, 100 ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ క్రియేట్ అవుతున్నాయి అనుకుంటే 100 ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తారు. ఇన్స్టెన్సెస్ లెవెల్లో స్కేలింగ్ జరుగుతుంది, అప్లికేషన్ లెవెల్లో కూడా స్కేలింగ్ జరుగుతుంది. బోత్. So we'll wind up the session, friends. Did we have a Python session for your batch till now? It's not even a single Python class, right? Tomorrow we'll have a Python class. Fine, we'll inform the timings and all that.